Let's take a look at some charts on LINK from this week's article on Brave New Coin. So LINK is a decentralized Oracle network built on Ethereum. It is an ERC20 token. It has become highly popular, if not necessary, for the backbone of DeFi applications over the past few years at this point. It's made headlines for its meteoric rise in price over the past couple of years as well. Somewhat justified based on on-chain activity, which I'll show in a few minutes. Essentially how it works is there are independent validators for various data, including price, in this case price of ETH, and all those different oracles are brought together to aggregate a single price. This way, if one oracle goes down, there's redundancy. The price itself can be used for external data in the DeFi ecosystem, APIs, all sorts of stuff. So LINK had their ICO in September 2017, and the holding company still controls 26% of the total supply. Currently, they're selling 2 million LINK per month. Total circulation is 39% of the total supply. So there's a decent amount of dilution inflation going on. And then we have the node operator rewards, which still haven't moved from that wallet. And I don't know the exact circumstances at which they will move out of that wallet, but they're there, lurking, overhang, glut supply that hasn't moved since the ICO. The big mover has been Smart Contract Limited selling an increasing amount of tokens over the past 6 to 12 months. The LINK Marines will tell you this is a good thing because they're scaling up their business, they're hiring people, they're doing all this stuff. That's fine. But from a supply-demand perspective, demand has to keep up with the additional supply being put into the market, or price will fall. That's just plain and simple. So long as the market is bullish and coins are being removed from exchanges, which they're being bought up and sent elsewhere. Another reason why the float on the exchanges is low, so price can have quick, volatile movements. The sell side just isn't there for the LINK tokens themselves, because what we've seen thus far is just whales buying tokens and then taking them off the exchange in aggregate, all the exchanges that are watched for this metric. But this supply issue isn't going away anytime soon. So it's something to consider for any token, any ICO, any project. LINK, probably more so than any other ICO, has done a lot of worthwhile, viable partnerships, big names in this case. Unsure of the quality of those, specifically Google, Intel, Oracle. To me, those are essentially irrelevant, because if the use case is valid and strong for crypto native apps, DeFi, then right now in the moment, all this other ancillary stuff isn't really that big of a deal. I'd much rather see practical, real world applications being used that are important, vital for the ecosystem, than any sort of partnership with any sort of company. So they have both. They have partnerships and they have real world use cases, definitely. If we look at the transaction count and mean transaction size, since January, both these metrics have sort of followed each other. Before January, it was kind of inverse. As transactions were rising, mean transaction sizes were falling. This could signal more of a speculative play since January. Not really sure. Depends how you want to read that, but that's one viable option. Transactions ballooned to all-time highs, like the height of the DeFi shenanigans. That's since come way down. Mean transaction sizes have come way down. Prices come way down, 50%. It's bounced a little bit. Overall, I don't think this is too bearish. It's still sitting above any activity prior to this year. And if ETH fees come down, or if they're scaling with ETH 2.0 or any news on that front, that should be bullish for LINK as well, because it's on ETH. If you look at NVT is sitting at an all-time low, which is incredibly bullish for any coin in a vacuum. This does include the large coin movements from Smart Contract Limited, but even still, there's a lot of on-chain activity here for LINK. You can see active addresses in the fill here continue to increase, come off a little bit, but still way above any activity prior to July 2020. So LINK is still bullish from the on-chain metrics, certainly. More bullish than many other coins, if not most other coins at this point. GitHub activity is still active, it's still there, it's still being developed. There's development happening. I care less about quality of the commits, just Quantity in a decent project is fine for me. It's not being abandoned. They're not just selling all their tokens and running. There's definitely work being done here, at least at a very basic level. And unsurprisingly, Google Trends spiked to an all-time high with price spiking to an all-time high. That's come way down as well. If this starts to creep up before price, that's usually a leading indicator that price will increase with it. Otherwise, not too much out of the norm here. This is Chainlink crypto is what I searched for this specific Google Trends. So on-chain metrics look good. Oracle usage looks good. If we move to technicals, 5200 EMA, VPVR, volume, RSI, and yearly pivots. So Link USD has held above the 200 basically since inception, including the most recent drop. That's always a good indicator for how overbought are we, how far away are we from the 200. So it's mean reverted completely. It's bounced on a yearly pivot. There's no real volume support until 450. So if everything turns sideways or turns south in the market, 450 is the next level. Should the current local low at around $8 fail. There is also an Adam Eve. I didn't mention the article, but it's pretty much done and complete now. There's definitely reasons that this wants bullish continuation. I don't know how much further it gets past all-time highs, but it looks like it wants an all-time high retest. EMA still look good. No death cross yet, but that's something to watch for over the next few months. If this gets a death cross, the first one ever on this specific chart, you certainly have to get less bullish just based on technicals alone. But I like support at 450, I like support at 230 if this decides to sell off, if the entire market sells off, that sort of thing. Otherwise, it looks good for up here, even on the cloud. It's got a Kumo breakout to the upside in the making. It's got a little time before the cloud metrics flip bullish again. Cloud's still bearish, TK cross still bearish. Anything above 12, 13 should be good to go over the next few weeks as far as bullish continuation. And to see the trend skyrocket and reset completely and then make another run is typically incredibly bullish. Very similar to this situation. You know, it made this run, sold all the way off, broke out again, and away it went. Not that I'm expecting another like 12,000% run or anything, but it does look good for higher highs if it breaks out there. If we look at the it's actually the half year MA and then 3 times. So this is the half year MA in the green, 3 times half year in the MA in the red, basically showing oversold, overbought, buy zone, sell zone. You can see it peaked out of that sell zone. So once again, this indicator has been on the money, telling you where to buy, where to sell. It even essentially retested that 183 half year MA at around 7 on the dip there. So if we do get higher highs, this is definitely the first thing I'd be looking at is how overbought are we? Are we way above 24? This will start creeping up a little bit, but it's definitely something to watch for again because it's been so accurate. There's only been, it's an N of 2. It's not like there's a lot of data here, but it's been pretty good so far. It's caught all the bottoms, caught all the tops. It's exactly what you want to see from any indicator. If we switch gears to Link BTC, again, all the same indicators with a pitchfork here in the 200 EMA. We find that it's stayed in this median line since 2019. It's held above the 200 since 2019, even on the most recent drop. So all the things you want to see as far as expecting continued bullish momentum. It had a risk of a massive head and shoulders here if it were to break the 200, if it were to break the median line. I still think that's worth considering. It's not as critical as it was a few days ago. But if this breaks 75,000 sats, whatever this is, 0.00075, then there's a decent case to be made that it'll drop down to the low side of this pitchfork, kind of for the first time ever. So that's one cautionary metric to watch in the next few months. And the other side of that is there's no real support to the downside until like 30K sats. There's a little notch here in VPVR, but there's not much support on the way down. And lastly, looking at Link ETH here, another good one to watch just because it's held above the 200 for so long. It's been so strong. It's kind of incredible how many touches this has had and survived. Even on the most recent retrace, it's still hanging in there. So if this does break down, breaks the 200 as ETH 2.0 comes online or whatever, for whatever reason, there's really no volume support. So that's concerning for the bullish side. really the yearly pivot I'd expect it to hold at is like the 10.00, whatever this is, 0.010 ETH level for people who are trading Link ETH. I only really mention this because it's a DeFi pair, and a lot of people like to compare the two. But overall, Link still looks bullish on fundamentals, on on-chain stuff. Oracles look great. They're working. Technicals still look pretty good despite the 50% retrace. So if the entire market stays bullish in the next few months, which I suspect it will, then Link probably carries most of the DeFi weight with it to the upside. So Link should have a pretty good next few months here.